So, hello, namaste, namaskar, good afternoon, good morning, or maybe even good evening, in whichever part of the world you are joining us from. Welcome you all to the Bloom Sunday Talk Show on the 242nd consecutive non-stop Sunday Bloom Talk Show. Ever since we started, we have had different speakers, different people coming from different parts of the world who have graced the Sunday Bloom Talk Show. We've had speakers, coaches, trainers, athletes. We've got doctors, nurses. We've had people from all across all the seven continents of the world who have graced the Sunday Bloom Talk Show. Be it rain or shine, online or offline, every Sunday, 12:30 India time. This is the place to be. This is the room to be in. We have a very special guest with us today. She's joining us and she will be speaking about Charitra. Charitra, the light that endures beyond a lifetime. These are deep words with deep meaning. We will try and understand, we will try and decode what that means and how she will be able to explain this to us. But before that, a brief introduction of Hina. She is a L&D expert with nearly a decade of experience. She's driven by the belief that growth and development of people is the highest calling of leadership. No doubt about that. She says, as individuals, we are all leaders and we are shaping the world through our actions, through our thoughts, our services, and our presence. Every effort we make contributes to a larger purpose. And who would argue with that? She is passionate about empowering others to realize their full potential. By qualification, she is an engineer with honors in IT. Interesting. But by passion, she is a speaker, a theater artist, and an MC. In terms of achievements, she is the proud winner of Glad Rag Mega Model Mumbai 2017 and Miss Gem India 2016. Wow, we have celebrities who have walked the ramp and now are along with us in the Sunday Bloom Talk Show. She is a global facilitator of I Am Remarkable, a Google initiative. She has the privilege of empowering people from all walks of life, helping them recognize and own their unique strengths. There are a few more lines I can keep on reading her accomplishments and achievements, but let's learn from her. Let's listen from her. Hina, tell us a little bit about you, what you do, why you do this, and how did you come about doing this? After that, I will hand it over to Abhijit.
All right. Thank you, Deepak. Thank you. So, what I do, I believe you have covered it very beautifully in my introduction itself. I believe in empowering people. I believe in making them see their true selves. I believe that each and every one of us is very unique individual. We have too many qualities, too much of potential. And in this finite world, we are so much infinite in our ways that if only we could really reflect of who we really are, we would be excelling beyond words. So I believe my purpose in this little life that I come with, to the number of counted days that I walk on this planet, I really want to be part of the lives who feel the change in themselves from being ordinary to extraordinary. If I could make a slightest of the difference in their mindset and ideology, I believe I've lived to my purpose. And that drives me. It drives me when people say, "Oh, we listened to you. We talked with you. We shared our experiences with you," and it somehow made a shift in us. Not just a change, but a concrete shift that lasts for the lifetime. That is my dopamine, and that is where I drive my motivation.
Over to you, Abhijit.
Hi, Deepak.
Hello, Abhijit.
Hi. Thanks for giving me this honor of asking the questions first. So, when you say charitra, or is it charitriya? R-A or R-Y? Just I would like to be corrected, but it's a Sanskrit word, I believe, right?
Indeed, it is.
And it means character or conduct or maybe values, principles. So what is the real meaning of that term?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question, Abhijit. Firstly, the pronunciation is charitra. It's a
Charitra.
tra. It's not a Y, but R-A, charitra. The
Okay.
word comes from the beautiful Indo-European language Sanskrit, which was initially the Vedic Sanskrit in 5th and 6th century, but evolved eventually in 1500 to 500 BC. Later on, it was this word. By the way, this word has a very long journey. It got adapted by the Greeks, and there it meant leaving an impression, marked, something that you mark on a stone and it stays there forever. Later on, it was shown in a book in 1789, and eventually people got into a field of talking about, oh, Charitra is all about character. So what is character? Character is your foundation. Character is who you really are when nobody's watching you, what drives you. It is your moral compass that tells you how to differentiate between, in layman language, being an animal to an evolved human being. What makes you stand out? It is your character. When you are given a choice to make something which is advantageous for yourself alone or for the whole community, what decision do you make? Do you see the entire world as your family? Or are you self-centered enough that let me live this life alone and the rest of the generations can take care of themselves? These little actions, these little value and ethics that we adhere to, no matter what the circumstances may come, defines the character. And that is why it lives beyond the life that we play in this world. It goes on as an inspiration.
Fine. Great words. I think when you said the foundation, character is the foundation, and I have read and studied a lot about character, but specifically, I would like to know what would you mean by maybe something like a good character, or maybe the types, the bad character, or is there something in between, an acceptable character, or being a practical, whether there are some shades of gray which you would advise? So what is it for somebody? What is it possible to lead the highest ideals of character as one defines it?
Oh, very interesting. So good or bad? Well, some say good or bad is a mere perception. Some believe no, good or bad is in real. We can call it in our today, as we celebrate Ram Navami, let us take some more important and concrete terms like dharma and adharma. So good and bad can be defined in the both directions as well. Now, speaking of character and how should you define it as good or bad, I would like to ask my listeners this very simple question. Suppose that you are leading a group of people in a war zone, and somehow you are left with a counted number of ammunition. Now you have to make a choice whether to be courageous and sacrifice your life and of your group and the people, or would you like to retreat, create a strategy, think about it, and then attack? Retrieving is not showing that you're not courageous enough. It's showing that you are being strategic. A character is concrete to us. Where we mix the thing is with our personality, with our behavior, with our attitude. These are four different terms. Character is still about staying courageous, but it is your attitude that makes you remember and understand that in this moment, putting out and risking the life of a countryman is not an ideal thing to do. You can always make a comeback and still be courageous. It is courageous to save lives rather than to sacrifice alone. And then it is your attitude that gets into your behavior, which sets the tone of the actions. So character can both be good and bad. However, it's all about what you believe in it. The character, if you have to really emphasize that, no, Hina, but still there has to be a bad character, then a bad character would be identified as something that is inclined or is directed to cause a lot of dispute between the harmony of the nature, where people intentionally develop something, maybe because of the circumstances that they have endured, certain kind of situations that they have lived, or maybe the way they have been, I'll say their mind has been conditioned. So yes, and those under those circumstances, people may develop some false character and characteristics, and that can impact their attitude and behavior. But mostly, it's always a good character which speaks about doing the right thing and being in the right path.
So doing the right thing at the right time in the right path is, I think, the right way forward, I guess.
It is most of the time the right way forward. Sometimes even staying silent is also showing resilience, and that cannot be taken as a weakness. Again, when people try to be silent, when they are not responding, it shows a lot of strength, it shows a lot of resilience of their character. Answering or fighting back or showing your muscle power is not a way to show that you're strong enough or a person of strong character. It rather reflects that you can be easily agitated. Your attitude, your behavior, your personality can be easily stirred.
So while it could be contextual, and when you give a value compass to it, it will be on the value ethics or the compass. I believe it could be only good or bad or right or wrong, because your values have to be, you got to be a person of integrity, you got to be a person of honesty, truthfulness.
Yes.
So when I look at a narrow value compass, I believe it could be only good. A character always has to be good or great.
A character should be good. But yes, some exceptions can be there, Abhijit.
Yes,
Everything cannot always be white and black. Sometimes it
yes,
happens to be gray given the
yes,
circumstances.
yes,
Nature
yes.
has its ways.
So coming to today's
Just to add on to it, for a
yeah,
little bit of an example, we can take the example of Ravan.
yeah.
Before, till the time, there was a conflict going on between Ram and Ravan. He was being very evil. But the moment he was killed, it was Ram himself, Ramji himself, who asked Lakshman to go and stand next to the feet of Ravan, because he was a person who can give you a lot of wisdom. Even today, it is marked that there was no person wiser than Ravan. So character, even a bad person, or you may have seen a lot of bad in that person, in the characteristic, can comprise good characters too.
No, so I fully agree, because I'd seen that play, the Ram play, which
The
was
Ram
there.
Navami, okay, yes, okay.
And
Ram
in
Leela.
the, not the Ram Leela, there is a play where Ashutosh Rana has played the Ravan, and
Okay.
there's a beautiful dialogue in the end, and uh, Ram asked Lakshman to go and take advice from Ravan.
Yes.
So that's where Lakshman goes and asks him, but Ravan refuses to give him advice. So the next Ram tells him to go and
stand next to
ask
the
humbly
feet.
and stand and bow to him and ask him. So that's when you're seeking advice, and the humility in being a student is what. So it was, the dialogues were beautiful. I think somebody, if he wants to know, he or she wants to know what real character is and wisdom is, I think, as you rightly put, Ravana again was a man of wisdom. Yes, there were shades of bad or black, as you say, but at other things, he was a very learned person, and
Person too.
possibly the most learned person.
So, Abhijit, the same happens with all of us. That is why we keep on adhering to a point that we remind ourselves to have right attitude. That is why we keep reminding ourselves to be positive in our thoughts, because in case our thinking turns negative, it may impact our characteristics and belief system as well. So we consciously have to keep nurturing to be a good character person. I believe it is one of the most difficult but highly, and one of the most respected thing of the world. Whether you come from any line of work, if you are a person who has got a lot of integrity, trustworthiness, you really care, you are accountable for the actions, for what you take, no matter you are an auto driver till you are Ratan Tata, the CEO, you will be remembered for who you were, along with the works that you do, but most importantly, the way with which you live the life.
I agree. Yes. So it's said that you may lose your wealth, but you may get it back. But if you lose your
The
character,
character,
it's
you
very
never get it
difficult
back.
to get it and develop that trust and integrity. So, and it's said also about education that education should lead to the development of character. So,
Yes.
character is used very strongly, and I believe uh, the foundation should be laid, and that's the foundation. But how does one lay that? So maybe it starts from maybe I don't know, from the Garb Sanskar, or how does your development of character evolve? So is it in the company of good people or wise people, or how is it? How do you develop that, and how do you evolve?
How do we evolve? Oh, evolution has been always a slow process. It takes time to build the most beautiful things in the world. And when it comes to your own individual self, take yourself as a stone where you are the sculpture and you are going to transform yourself into something which can be worshipped. So, same is your character building. It is not an outcome of a day or an event or the values that your parents have imbibed you with, your schooling has brought you in, or even your social environments. Yes, these things, these institutes and part of your life play a very important role in laying the foundation, as in making and creating your logic of reasoning between what to do, what not to do, because your actions are going to lead to certain consequences that may result in unhappy outcomes. So the things that result in unhappy outcomes that may hurt someone, that may make someone feel a little less about themselves, we consider those as bad actions, and therefore we are told not to behave and not to develop such belief systems, that it's okay to tease, or is it okay to belittle somebody or shame somebody out. We are said a no from a very early childhood. But as we grow up, Bijit, we observe it from the world and we observe it from the actions. Let us reflect a little bit upon the episode that we had of 39, where we invited Atul Sharma ji, we invited Yana Mir, and even Dr. Sanvi. If we really reflect upon their lives, what impacted their lives was the wrong behavior that was conducted to them. If people could have been more logical, they could have shown more empathy, they could have been reasonable to understand and accept them the way they are, to support their real cause and look into the limited beliefs of the society, but see beyond. Those powerful women would have, rather than enduring those hardship, they would have bloomed like anything. So character is which comes with time, which the right and wrong we believe, and how our moral system works. What I want to support, what I want to shape myself into. That defines our ultimate value system, whether we find it correct or not. And to all my learners today, a very simple way to ask yourself whether you're going on the right path or not is, had you been in that situation and position, what would you have expected to be done with you? I mean, how would you have expected the people to respond to you, to treat you, to behave with you? And are you doing the same to them? If you expect somebody to be kind to you, are you showing that kindness in your actions? It's easy to judge others, but the point we put ourselves into their shoes and we try to reflect of what they're enduring, it gives us the reality check. And in those moments, we make the shift in our behaviors and our character, our beliefs.
So is it an individual concept, or you would have a character even of a region or a character of a nation?
We can have it on the, at least on the community level.
A community level, yes.
Yes, but eventually, as the number of people grows, as the community grows, of course, you'll have a blend of different characters.
Right.
So yes, it starts with individual. It impacts goes up to a smaller community where people can be like-minded. However, the further we grow in our community, the number of people, there are different kinds of different shades and different aspirations and different thought processes that step in. So it adds to the lot of diversity. And then, yes, character still can be the same, but not of the entire community. No.
So what do you think are the challenges which one faces in building the ideal character?
There's no ideal character.
So the
How
virtues
far
of
can we?
righteousness, or
Abhijit,
as you say, empathy, humility.
yes. So how far can we?
Given this competitive world, so how
Yes.
does one actually overcome any roadblocks?
uh, how far can you go to be the right one? How far can you be okay about? I believe the most challenging thing about being a charactered person, to being a person with right virtues, the righteousness, to have an understanding, to think like a humankind rather than human who has been made to think in a way of a kind. So how to about some of the challenges is that you are left alone. In certain situations, you're the only person to make the change. Sometimes you have to be a visionary. The different archetypes is you have to be a visionary, and people do not believe in your visions. For all the inventions that ever took place, it was difficult to convince initially that they could exist. Let's say the earth is flat, it was believed so. The ideology that earth is spherical in shape was not accepted, so the visionaries were not accepted. So you are left alone many a times when you go with your own belief system. You also may face a lot of criticism, just like Atul Sharma. You may face a lot of criticism, and people may start judging you on the wrong aspects. It can also impact and bring a lot of betrayal. The characters test come in when you have faced a lot of betrayal and disappointment, that how do you treat your foes and your enemies? The people who have not believed in you comes, how do you treat them? Do you respectfully treat them? Can you still look into their eye, in their eyes, welcome them, smile at them, and be genuinely good to them rather than just being a fake? It is also about character. Another challenge that comes is when we talk of character, we also think of people showing a lot of humility. Unfortunately, as you said, Abhijit, in this competitive world, humility is taken as a substitute of weakness. So self worth is very important. We need not forget that in showing the character, one of the challenges that you might face in the world is that your I'll say your stability and your sturdy behavior can be taken as an adamant behavior, and your humility can be taken as a sign of weakness. So you ought to
Yes.
know your self-worth. So these are the few challenges.
So is character very visible outside, or can one mask one's character?
Well, character is no, it cannot be. It is not that easily visible, and that's where, interestingly, that's where we end up judging people. The term we miss is we want to analyze people, but we end up being a judge to them. And character really cannot be shown on the surface. So let's find out. Like, that's a very amazing question. Thank you for that question, and let me bring in four more important things here. We need to understand personality, we need to understand behavior, we need to understand attitude, and we then need to understand character. So if I have to talk about how this works, firstly is your character, your belief system, what you believe is right to do, you believe is wrong to do, your ethics, your morals, your concrete, your foundation, that I stand for these values, and no matter what, I'm not going to let these values get shaken at any point in time. Then comes your next thing. It is your attitude. Now, what is attitude? Attitude is your way of looking at things, of how you think and how you perceive them. It is generally a way of your thoughts work, and for an example, how the external environment and stimuli uh, treat you, or how they actually activate you in behavior. Your attitude can be a positive, an optimistic attitude, a pessimistic attitude. It can be different. Then comes, once your attitude is sorted, then comes your behavior. Now, what is your behavior? As the word says, these are your set of actions that you do. You can be a person of very positive attitude, but in certain circumstances, even you can show a lot of aggression because you were pushed to that corner. You were being shouted so much that you had to really raise your voice and show that, all right, this is not acceptable. That doesn't make that you're not a person who respects others. You do. That's your character. That's not a person that shows that you are an attitude with a person with wrong attitude and negative attitude. No, it's absolutely about the behavior, the actions, because that's what has been happening around your environment. And you had to respond rather than react to it. That is your behavior. And what is this? Your personality is an outcome. It's an external interaction of all these three basic things, including the way you dress, you talk, you behave, what you wear, you smell like, how you perceive with your senses, the way you can talk. It can be a very strong personality. It can be a very timid personality. It can be a kind personality like that of Mother Teresa. It can be a personality of authority like like Sam Manik Shaw. Different people, when they stand out, they show a different personality because that's a wholesome aura. So these things are very different. So your personality is what you see, not the character.
Oh, well explained. Well explained. I think you said one about self-respect.
Yes,
Uh,
self-worth.
so self-worth, self-love, self-care. You say self-giving, being selfless, or at times we had a topic just about some weeks ago on being selfish to be selfless. So when you are having something where the character of a person is more of self-preservation and of something being selfish for himself, will he be able to give it to others?
The will what like you have to a
So
little help me here. Will he be
yeah,
able to give
yeah.
others?
So what I'm saying is somebody who's very selfish in
Hmm.
basically developing himself, and he would have all the virtues which would be there, but it would be only for him, not for maybe giving it to the society or the world at large or humanity. Would
Okay.
that still be a good character?
I believe, Abhijit, we have to, in such circumstances, that Buddha has rightly said, to understand somebody's character, you need to spend some time with them. What you are talking about is a behavior,
Yeah,
because you can see that he's being selfish or she's being selfish. The person is very self centered and is self focused. It can be an outcome of the deprivation of love. It can be an outcome of deprivation of opportunities. It can be an outcome of seen and faced biases. And that is why it can be a way they are shielding themselves so that they are not once again hurt and betrayed. So actually, perhaps they would want to be loved. They do want to give back to the society. But in certain circumstances, let's say in the professional world, they have seen so much of a bias or they have seen so much of a disparity that they have ultimately lost faith in it. Can that faith be restored? Yes. There are, and that is a remark. I believe that is one of the most important benchmark, like I mentioned before, that it is a challenge. Good character, or a strong rather, instead of saying good, I would say strong character is not a thing, is not a luxury that we get to see often. Only a rare and a few people can really maintain it because it takes a lot and lot of um, self-discipline to adhere to your values and to stay on to them. I'm not saying that people leave it, no, but they, rather than empowering it and reflecting it in their attitude, they then eventually suppress it because they believe that the world was unfair, so there is no need to be kind. I'm not going to go and bother anybody, but I'm not even getting bothered about others' problem as well. Let me live my life and let me take care. So that is being a self-preservation act. Whereas there are countless people who have lost so much in the world. For an example, we have one. Payal has gone through a lot in her life, and she decided to give back to the world with a lot of hope and transformation by bringing the bloom world. So there is a character that you want to fall in love with. These are the people who stand out and inspire you. That uh, uh, challenges, or I say uh, the incidents of life, they really do not define, but it is your response to them, how you look at them, what you learn from them, and you decide to give back is what really defines them.
fine. Thanks. So my last question before I ask Deepak to take over is, how would you, as maybe I don't know whether you would term yourself as one, but as a character coach,
Hmm.
let's say tell somebody who just doesn't know about it. So maybe I really don't know. So maybe when we talk of an character quality maturity model, or maybe whether I'm at level 1 on a character maturity curve, or level 2, or what, good, great, excellent. So how would that, let's say when somebody wants to really know and get certified that yes, okay, you are of a good character, then how does one get that? Who certifies the character? And let's
Who
say
certifies the
how does
character?
one get certified for as a good character? Or I maybe maybe if I would say, if my wife certifies I'm good, I'm fine. If my kids then second certify me as good, I'm fine. So how does that go? Is it the limited family who
Abhijit,
certifies you that?
okay, so when you talk about certification, where I believe character is that quality which is so priceless that it can neither be certified nor it can be bought. It is earned with time. It is molded with time. And for those that you're asking that who would certify me, there is no need to get certified from
Oh,
anybody.
fine, fine, fine.
This is something that you know within your core, that you are a person who believes in your own good and the common good of the world. And there is this, but however, when we are speaking of this character certification, I believe we really do try to, however, give a character certification to people around. It
Yes,
happens so that
yes.
when we meet people, instead of looking for ourselves, we sit and analyze, all right, let us give them some certificates, A plus, B minus. So let's give a very quick activity here. If we have time, I believe, do we? We have
Yeah, yes,
5 minutes?
yes,
All right,
yes.
so let's have a quick activity. All my listeners here, all you have to do is I am going to narrate. I'm going to narrate and enact a little bit of a play. All you have to do is listen to me carefully and tell me later, what did you observe? My question is, I'm very clear about it. What did you observe? You can, if it's okay for all of you to unmute and talk, great. Or the chat box is open for you in your thoughts and opinions. So please feel free. Okay, on the count of three, I'll start my narration. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Imagine a man, strong enough, tall, with a lot of muscle strength, walking and leading. He's looking straight and checking around with some lines on his face, and he's just checking to make sure that what is happening. They are walking in a forest. A man walking in the forest, followed by a woman. Now, this woman who's following him is walking straight, but her gaze is on the ground, and she is following him, neither walking ahead of him nor by side, but she is walking behind him. This man is leading her. The man is all dressed up with armor and everything, and also has got footwear, while this lady is very simply dressed. uh, the fabric is very light and very, I'll say, one of the most expensive of its time, and is walking barefoot. Now, when they reach a certain place in the forest, the man sits on a elevated place, whereas the woman sits on the ground. They rest for a while. Now the man goes around, checks for some berries and edibles, brings in, eats it, and then passes over to the woman. She takes it, she eats it, and then the whatever is left she places aside. And later, after they have rested well, they get up and they start moving again. Again, the man is leading with all that courage and all that valor in his eyes, looking straight and being very attentive to the details, while the woman is still following him. Her gaze is down and she's walking barefoot. What do you observe?
So anyone wants to unmute and say something?
I wanted to understand, observe in what sense? In the sense that what are they feel? What's the woman feeling, or what is the guy trying to project, or in what kind of a situation? If you can talk, Hina.
Hi, Ritika. I believe I'll answer all these things, but I narrated an incident. There is
Acha,
no story and threads to it. You have to take it the way I have presented it. So, what are your thoughts around it? What did you observe? Is my question.
Okay, so I feel that this gentleman is pretty overpowering and controlling in one sense. And the other, like you said, that he has his eyes around, which means that he's taking care of everything. Whereas this woman either has kind of, just submitted to the fact that, since he's there, I don't need to worry about anything. That is why her gaze is down and she's not bothered, because she feels safe, or she feels that he will take care in one respect. In the other, when you say that this gentleman was sitting on an elevated pedestal and she's sitting on the ground and he's having berries first and then passing on, shows a bit of a, like a chauvinistic sort of an approach also alongside. So I feel it's a bit of both, depending on which is overpowering the other.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
I really appreciate those thoughts that you are, like it has been said, it's yin and yang, so you're balancing the two. Love it.
Yeah.
And Ramprasadji says the woman is either kidnapped or is being saved. Either of the two of the things have happened. All right. Thank you, Ramprasadji. Anyone else who would like to say, what did you observe? As simple as that. Abhijit, what's your take? Payal, what's your take? What did you observe?
So I just observed the lady silently following the man and whatever he is doing. She is modeling him.
She is modeling him. Okay. Thank you. And Abhijit, any thoughts from your side? The man seems to be the protector or of high stature, and the lady seems to be someone who needs protection on the journey. The man is the protective shield. Thank you, Swati. Thank you, Moni. Okay, because we have a time constraint, I would have loved to get answers from all of you. So let me demystify this. My question was very clear. What did you observe? Technically, had this been a in-person conversation, I would have enacted this play. Now, what was the thing of observation is the man is walking straight, looking straight, checking on here for any kind of threats. Whereas the woman is walking behind, but she is not having her head held down. Her head is held high, Hina. Her gaze is down, perhaps because she's walking barefoot. Observation is the woman is barefoot, the man is wearing shoes, he's sitting on an elevated place, while the woman is sitting on the ground. He is having berries first, she's having berries next. These are the observations. What was presented to me was the conclusion of what you understood, you inferred out of it. If I tell you this is a culture where it was the role of the man to protect the female was the divine entities blessed from the nature that only they could touch the mother earth, and that is why only they were allowed to walk barefoot to maintain a connect with mother nature, whereas the men were not allowed to do so, and hence they had to wear shoes. They had to eat the berries first so that if anything is poisonous, it impacts them first rather than impacting the woman. So safeguarding the women, keeping them safe and happy was the utmost cultural nature of theirs. And only men have to walk in front so that any person, especially in the wild, if gets attacked, anything attacks, it is they who take care of her rather than she getting impacted. Now this generation goes well, looks less of any kind of patriarchy or any kind of suppression because we got
Hina,
into the things.
if I was a feminist, I would be outraged at this story. A modern day
I
feminist.
Deepak, I agree with you because when we enacted this play, women literally left the room and said, I can't stand what kind of a nature are you projecting? And this is a half act. This is not the entire act. So this is just a half of it. So what I'm trying to emphasize is when it comes to culture and when it comes to most importantly, your character, we actually end up having a lot of biases. So there are three important biases we need to take care of before giving the certificate. The halo effect. What do I mean by that? If somebody is doing some kind gesture, some good gesture, and you feel, wow, what an amazing person the person is, this might be their behavior and action and their personality. They may not be as charactered as you are expecting them to be, or most importantly, their characters may not match with yours as well. So eventually you want to stay friends with them, but realize that no, we are not getting along well. We have a lot of differences. Our work style, our ethics are different. They do not believe in time management. They do not believe in staying to their words, sticking to their words. It impacts the business and work. So firstly, the halo effect. If you happen to see something good about people, take it. Of course, they are doing good. Take it. But do not get into a conclusion that they're amazing or they're bad. The second is about confirmation bias that happened right now. For the limited information that we all got, we made a judgment. This is not good. I can't stand it. Or maybe this is really good. I would want to be treated in the same way. But that is partial information. You still do not know it. So take your time to observe. One of the things that I would want all my learners to learn today is to ever understand a character, be it yourself or be it of the others. observe silently. What are they doing when there is nobody watching, when they have not to put up a reputation, when they do not have to live up to a mark? How do they behave and talk? And the last thing is about the cultural bias that we get in. It can be on the complexion, the society that you come from, your education, your religion, your faith, your beliefs. All of these can also lead to a lot of biases. Whereas as an individual, you all may have the same values. After all, we want to have a great world where we all can live happily, but then we end up judging them. So taking care of these different biases, I believe we should, before giving a certificate, as Abhijit said, what should be the certificate criteria? I believe the first and the foremost is the realization that let's be good in ourselves, let's be character, because it's a virtue. Not everybody has it, and it takes an entire lifetime to adhere to it. Let's stick to that, most importantly, and live our life to the fullest.
Wonderful. I mean, you literally use the visual faculty of the brain, when you narrated that story, you had to actually visualize that person all
Yes.
fully clothed, and wearing that footwear and muscle and mask and walking, and this lady, gentle lady behind, walking behind him, eating those berries after I had eaten him. And after that berry story, immediately the story, I mean, since today is Ram Navami, so the Shabri story immediately came to mind. So Shabri, we all know that she was this little lady who was staying in an ashram full of rishis, and when the ashram came to know that Lord Ram is visiting that ashram, she started getting ready that mere Bhagwan Ram aa rahe hain, and started preparing and whatnot. And these rishis came and told her, "You are just a small little worker. We are all rishis. Lord Ram is coming. He will first come to us, visit us, and see us." And
Yes.
instead of visiting them and seeing them, he walks into her hut. And she, in all her character and love, tastes the berries first and then gives it to Lord Ram, saying, मैं उसको खट्टा बेर कैसे खिलाऊं, मैं तो उसको
जी.
मीठा ही बेर खिलाऊं. So character shows up differently in different people. People will interpret character in different ways. I want you to go back, 9 years, 8, 9 years, when you walk the ramp in that glad rags model, 15, 20, even maybe 25, 30 years ago, beauty was only about being 36, 26, 36. Ah, now they say, beauty is character and beauty is brains. And when questions are asked to all these participants, they will quote Mother Teresa and Maya Angelou and whatnot. And then they will
Yes.
try to project, their type of character. I want to do this for the world. When I become Miss Universe, I will go to visit the children in the slums and whatnot. You hear all
Yes.
those answers.
Yes.
How do you get to know that the person who is answering, that answer is coming from deep inside them, that is their true character? Or these are questions that have been rehearsed so that you come first or you get selected right on top? How does that work, Hina?
Deepak, if we really want to reflect of how much does someone really mean what they say, see their excitement when they say it. See it there when they talk and when they project the idea. They can talk extensively. Even in that 1 minute answer, they will bring a lot of answers. See, if somebody has scripted an answer, and we know it in the case of pageantry, it's a minute on two, and where you have to summarize entire life and work. So, keeping that section aside, because that's a very scripted place, it's a very staged performance, it has a very rehearsed performance because it's internationally depicted. So it will be unfair to judge their character on the merits of that. But if in case, if I have to still say that, in that 1 minute, how will you see what they really mean? Then always see the body language. When people talk of what they really believe in, it sinks in that aura. They really rise with it. There is a twinkle in the eye. There is confidence in their voice. There is empathy in their sound. If you are talking about children who could not eat food, you will hear that pain in their sound when they will talk about it. Like you said, how excited you got about it. Let's take for a moment you in an example of how you talked about Shabri and the entire story. You enjoyed that. The berries really brought in you that story and you reflected it because you really enjoyed it. When people genuinely talk about it, it is reflected in their aura, in their way, in their thoughts. Even in that 1 minute, the whole sum of the personality will tell you they mean what they're saying.
you know. And in one of the questions which Abhijit asked, you gave that answer and that example of, the world not being flat and it is round, and somebody, started with that thought and then pushed it. They say that there is a very thin line between genius and madman. There is a very thin line. At that time, when everybody is thinking you are mad, a mad person, unless you really come out with something which proves that you are a genius, you are actually a madman. Character. ये तो पागल है, ये तो गॉन केस है. मतलब इसका कुछ नहीं होगा. क्या क्या बात कर रहा है?
जी
The amount of people and all those who have lived through that time. I mean, thousands of people may have been killed before finally one person's voice was heard telling the world, no, 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 the world is round.
it is indeed not flat.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly, exactly. What is there inside you that makes you keep on going? नहीं, मैं तो ये प्रूव करके रहूंगा, जान चली जाए पर, वचन न जाए, जैसे कहते हैं. What brings in a person that character? वो चरित्र आता कहाँ से है? What brings that drive into a person?
वो चरित्र खुद से किया वादा है, उसके लिए कोई और नहीं आता. वो आपसे और आपके विश्वास के बीच का वादा है जो आप करते हैं कि मैं अपने शब्दों पे अडिग हूँ, क्योंकि मैं जानती हूँ जो है वो सही है. अगर इससे बेहतर या इससे सही कुछ है तो वो, be it in information, be it in discovery, be it in my belief system, that will come and reflect itself to you. लेकिन जो आप कह रहे हैं ये दीवानगी तो आपने इनमें भी देखी होगी ना, जिनके बारे में हम पढ़ते हैं हमारे स्वतंत्रता सेनानियों में. वो क्या दीवानगी थी कि तुमने अपनी जान दे दी और तुम देश की
Exactly.
आजादी भी नहीं देख पाए, बट यू डिड नॉट गिव अप ऑन दैट आइडिया. यू वर रेडी टू गेट सैक्रिफाइस्ड इन द पब्लिक, बट यू डिड नॉट गिव अप. सो वो खुद से करा वादा है कि मैंने ये चीज सोची है, मुझे ये चीज पाना है, मेरा ये विश्वास है कि ऐसा है और ऐसा सही है, मैं सिद्ध कर सकती हूँ. I can prove it to you. You don't accept it. That is because your belief and ideology is different than mine. But that doesn't say that my belief and my reflections are wrong, especially when it is supported with facts and data. When you're talking like for discoveries and those things, and even if otherwise, when you believe in doing the good, Deepak, when you can see your belief is leading to a result that generates happiness, even for
Hmm.
if one individual, and you have to stand against your family for that. That is your character, because you promised yourself you will live up to the remarks of being Deepak Khemani. Nobody else can play the character of being Deepak as Deepak himself can.
Yeah. Of
So you
course,
have
that
to
is
live up to your promises.
that
And
that
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 is
is
where extraordinary people come in. That's why
yeah,
they're quoted. They never let down themselves to impress others. That's the difference.
exactly. They don't let down others to prove that they are right. That is most important. And I'm now connecting that with leadership. Character and leadership. And I just want to bring in again something you spoke when Abhijit was asking you questions. I am of this firm belief that there is no white and then there is no black. It is
Okay.
all shades of gray, which means what we assume to be black is actually the darkest shade of gray. There is
Okay.
really no black. There is no black. If it was black, it wouldn't be visible. वो पूरा अंधेरा है.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, in white, there is no pure white. There can only be pure. I mean, only God is pure. There is nothing else. Rest, everything is there in between. So what we assume to be is white is the lightest shade of gray. At least that is my belief. Everything else falls in between, which
Okay.
means I may be thinking that, this person is dark, this person is good, this person is fair, this woman is white, this person has a loose character. Everything fits in between those shades of
Those,
gray.
okay. Those
Yeah. What's
parameters.
your
All right.
views? Yeah. Your views.
What are my views that do we fit in a parameter? Um, if we wish to, then for our personal sake, we can really put brackets and we can try to define people. And this is again subjective to each and every one of us, because it depends upon why you are bringing the bracket. Deepak, under what context are you bringing this bracket? Is it in general that you try to analyze people, or is it when you are doing business with them, or is it when you are listening to them? Your mind will always try to distinguish and compartmentalize your ideas. What you are doing, why you're doing, that's what you have sharpened it for. That's what is your character naturally, that your mind wants to get into understanding the best of the thing. So even when you're trying to put in the bracket of, let's say, the darkest of the gray, it becomes ultimate dark and it's invisible, it's black hole. And let's go to the white of extreme purity and it becomes light. Somebody being having that radiance that it turns into light, and that is only God, as we say it. So when we talk of having gray and black, even if when you're reflecting on somebody, showing their gray and their whites, did you ever get to know what is the story behind of being a gray, of being the darkest side of the gray? And what is the beauty of being, even for the toughest characters that we talk of, we need them to run the society and the decision making. Some person out there has to be so disciplined that they are emotionally very sturdy, so that they can take up the most difficult situations and most difficult decisions, even in family. We end up saying that sometimes under circumstances, we end up saying, oh, you're not being sensitive. The children want to play, but the father says, no, it's time for them to study. It's for their greater good. He is getting into the darkest shade of gray in the eyes of the children. But in the real world, as we see as a third person, he's getting towards the lightest of the light. So the bracket can be defined, but it is very subjective.
Again, I want to take this opportunity to ask people who are there in this room. If you have a question or a comment till now to what Hina has said, just unmute yourself and ask, because I can keep on asking questions and, till the cows come home. But I want the audience to take an opportunity. If you have something, please ask.
Yeah, I have a question
Go ahead.
for Hina.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Hina, what would you like to, how would you like to advise the young generation to, build a good character and develop their character into a personality of a leader? Because that is what is more important, because India is having a young population.
Yes.
Thank you.
We are one of the youngest countries of the world. Thank you so much, Mr. Amit Mohan, for the question. What it
By the
really
way, I
takes...
believe Hina is the young generation. So, okay, go ahead.
We all are young. Come on. Deepak, that's being very unfair. Now I'll say age is a number. Yes,
No, that was unfair to myself because I never grew up. I am still there.
Yes,
I'm still a child.
Okay. Thank you, Amit, once again for your question. And what I have to say that what it takes to build a character, it takes your habits. What habits do you bring in? I'll give you one simple example. When I went to the PSAI event on 21st of February, I was surprised to see that five-time TED Talk winners, eminent speakers, 28-year career holder in the specialization of chartered accountants, they stood for me as I won my trophy. They clapped for me. They showed a lot of belief in me. And most importantly, they stood by my side. And me being a new person in the group, I was introduced to all the people individually. They shook hands, they took out their hands and they shook first rather than I extending them. It was a great reflection of character for me to learn in that moment. So observe and learn with the people around you. They will tell you what are the good characters. To be selfless when you're as a leader. It is not in as a leader, you need not always exhibit that you are the person on the chair. If you are the person on the chair, you're also the person who's standing next to the people. You are a people's person. The futureship of the leader defines by the one who understands being a people's person. You need to stand with your team. You need to encourage them. Build in the right habits. Bring in the right discipline. Habits do not form on their own. You want to achieve something. Let's say it is about your fitness alone, or let's say it's about reaching a place in your life. It has to have some characteristics. When you see somebody who has already made it, let's say you want to be next Ratan Tata, he has already made it, you want to see yourself there. What characteristics he had in him? How disciplined was he? What was his lifestyle? What it looked like? You want to be as selfless and as ferocious as Rani Lakshmi Bai. What were his characteristics? She was patriotic, she was courageous, she was decisive, very good at decision making, very swift in taking actions. So pull up those characters and then bring in the habits to inculcate it. It is both the ways. Either you bring in a character and develop your habits accordingly, or when you practice your habits continuously, simple as making bed every single day, it becomes your character to keep things organized and be prepared beforehand rather than on the last moment. So that is one thing I would say to all the leaders. And most importantly, do you have to define leadership to be at a position? No. You do not become a leader the day you have an experience of 28, 30, or 40. You are in a process of being a leader every single day. The world only recognizes you at the right age because they believe that to be at that position, you need to have certain experience to show. It would look unfair for any youth to look like a leader, but we have really challenged all these biases. And today we have a lot of young leaders taking lead, be it in a parliament or in the IT or anywhere globally, even in the defense and otherwise. So I believe that leadership is not a trait that you develop when it be needed. We all are very individual leaders and we need to exhibit those characters.
Harsh has a very important comment in the chat. I'll read that before, but there is this saying that we were all born great. Education ruined us. So, you know, that there is this thought that, we need to go back to that Gurukul level of education where education was different. Here, everyone and anyone is taught those 5, 6, 7 subjects, and you are supposed to excel, and that is what is going to build your character, and that is how leaders will be built. Having said that, we are all products of that system, and most of us have turned out well. So there is no right or wrong. I just want to take you up on what you said just now about, your habits. And my book is all about compounding and all about habits. And, habits compound, and that is who we become. However, my question to you is, events in the past define our character. And let me take this opportunity on Ram Navami Day to take another thing from Ram Navami. Ramayana written by Maharishi Valmiki. Maharishi Valmiki, in his previous version in life, he was a dacoit. He used to rob and kill people to sustain himself and his family. At one point in life, when he was in the jungle and he was trying to rob a few of these saints, one saint asked him, "What are you doing and whom are you doing this for?" He said, "I'm doing this for my family." He said, "You know that this is karma. Everything you are doing is karma, and it is only you who will have to pay for this karma. None from your family will actually bear this karma. This is your karmic thing which you have to carry." He said, "No, no, no. I'm doing it for them. They will have to equally share with me when this karma needs to be
Yes.
repaid." And then he
Okay.
goes back home and he asks them, "Will you do this?" They said, "What are you talking? You are the caregiver. It is your duty to take care of the family. Where you are getting it from is none of our business. That is your karma." That is when his life flipped. And now he is Maharishi Valmiki, the person who wrote Ramayana for all of us. So even though pasts define us, it defines our character, there are these some life-changing moments which turn ourselves around,
Yes.
which is not a gradual progression, it is that 180-degree shift. That is
Right.
what changes your character. Anything else in your experience, people you've met or you've coached or trained or anything that comes into mind where such examples are there in real life?
Where such examples are there in real life. Oh, I believe I can reflect from my own journey that I have come from, like, I was raised in a very simple city of Bikaner, Deepak. And in that place, the culture was defined by the kind of attire you wear, by the
Yes.
habits you project. Very small towns, a rural India, and it's still on those lines that a girl looks very beautiful and elegant if she's wearing the cultural and the ethnics. But the moment she gets into the Western outfits, oh, she looks like a rebel. And a rebellious woman with a lot of opinion can be considered less humble, less mannered, and come less in lesser in many other ways. And unfortunately, I was no different to judge others on the same grounds, literally on the basis of the way they were dressed. So when I got into modeling, and suddenly I realized that I have to really go, the lens are going shorter and shorter. And I was like, okay, how am I going to tell this to my family? And at least my parents would understand because they know me. What about my extended family? They would literally disown me, saying that, oh my gosh, she's totally a spoiled one now. And she may get into drinking and smoking and whatnot. Have you not seen in movies? So I'm like, so when I won Glad Rags, you will not see any post that I ever put on Facebook. For winning Glad this was something that I wanted to do for my own because I loved it. But I was also having this impression in my mind that the dress length would define whether I'm a character woman or not. And it took me literally good number of years to sit with different sections of people. And I would say a lot comes from theater as well, because when you play a lot of character, you go for character realization, you study a lot, you given an opportunity, you sit with them, you see where they're coming from. Very beautiful what Atul ji has also mentioned. The women who were working in the brothel, she was told वो अच्छी औरतें नहीं हैं. And later on she asked at the age of 30, वो अच्छी औरतें क्यों नहीं है, वो भी तो वही गाती हैं जो हम गाते हैं, वो भी तो वही गाने सुनती है जो हम सुनते हैं. These were the simple realizations she had in her life, and that flipped her life completely, and it did for me too. And from there on, I got into a very big headspace where I really wanted to understand that is it really what we see on the surface, or is it really a lot to our core? And I realized, oh my goodness, every human being is so beautiful, so different and so beautiful. And it would be unfair if we really just assume about them with the limited knowledge that we have. So yes, I did have that, people. It started from me, and it changed me completely.
Wonderful, wonderful. And who can forget Bikaner? Every time you open that bhujia ka packet, that Bikaner word is staring right in front of you.
Yes,
Bikaneri
indeed.
bhujia.
Indeed, it is.
So let me read what Harsh said, and then we will, close after that. Harsh says with the upcoming Gen Z and Alpha and Beta generations, every generation is moving forward have weaker characters. It is observed. Okay, the characters were shaped with wars in previous times, yes, and difficult times for previous generations. The newer generation is super protective and use technology to solve issues over choosing the hardships and shaping themselves. What are your thoughts on this, Hina?
All right, thank you. First, Harsh, thank you so much for the question, and thank you, Deepak, for narrating with such emphasis. Let me quickly take few steps here and few words that you have spoken, Harsh. The character was shaped with wars. No, the character was never shaped with wars. Had that only been a way, then the entire society would have never evolved. For the Roman Empire fell because it lost its ethnicity. No, not ethnicity, its integrity. The Roman Empire fell because it lost its integrity. You cannot have your entire society, you cannot put your entire nation. So are you telling me that only the soldiers of India have the character and not the rest of the people and Indians? So we need to be in a war. And if you really look at life, then, as the poets have rightly said, we are always at war. We are always in a sense of achievement. We are always in a sense of seeking something. We are always at a war with ourselves, what I was yesterday to what I am today. It's not something that you look outside, it is an inward journey, Hush. Character building is always an inward journey, not something that you comes outside. Yes, for as for the circumstances, like we said, difficulties and under pressures, it makes those things very rock solid, which you may have thought that okay, I can make things happen, and suddenly you become a warrior sort because you had to save your family. So that courage comes out, you know that you are courageous enough, but under circumstances it just comes out like gushing like a volcanic eruption. So that happens. Now the newer generation is super protective. I see them as super creative, very creative. And because comfort is getting into, they don't need to have those hand kind of combats. They believe in going with nuclear wars. That's a lot of creativity and study. They are having it all here. So every generation believes कि हमारी generation बेहतर थी, आने वाली बर्बाद कर रही है. This is a general notion. It is not true. Evolution and the end of the world are the most of the real facts of the world. So this has to happen. So they're not being super protective, they're being very creative. They understand that if the robots can fight, why should I shed my blood? I'm too precious. And lastly, choosing technology to solve problems. Yes, why not? Because when you use technology, it saves your time and gives you the exposure to get into new discoveries. AI is a discovery, invention, and outcome of a lot of thought work. You never know what the next decade would look like. But if we are literally busy in having hand combats, fighting, and thinking about the menial issues of the world, what environment and world are we going to leave behind once we leave this planet? So I believe that the generation is a mix of both. Yes, you can call them a little into the comfort zone and technology prone. However, it is also an outcome because they have given a lot of input for its development and usage. Even we are using this technology, though we come from a different generation.
Yeah. It is said that, difficult times creates strong men.
Yes.
Strong men create good times. Good times, good times creates weak men. And then weak men create difficult times. And that circle
The
continues,
circle goes back. So it has to go back. Yes, you cannot
Yeah,
take that away.
yeah,
That's the
that's the
Niyati.
circle of life. That's the
Yes,
circle of
thank
life.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you, Deepak, for summing it so beautifully for me. I loved it.
Yeah, uh, as I said, this discussion is so wonderful. It is so intriguing. It is fascinating. We could keep on, continuing this discussion, but it's a Sunday afternoon, 1:30. There are still 16 of us in this room. At one point, we were
Wow.
26. So some people have gone back to their lunch, and it's time that we also start thinking about having lunch with our family. So let me ask Payal to officially thank you and then close this session.
Namaste, everyone. Thank you, Hina, for sharing light and love on this auspicious occasion of Ram Navami. I wish all our audiences a happy Ram Navami and see you all next week for a 243rd episode.
Non-stop Sunday Bloom Talk
Non-stop
Show,
Sunday.
Payal.
Well, as we close, there is one thing that I would want to leave you all with. Firstly,
Yeah.
again, a character is a promise that you make to yourself to be the best you are. And if you ever doubt, okay, am I doing it right? Just remember what I say today. कि अपनी जिंदगी में अपना किरदार कुछ इस तरह निभाइएगा कि पर्दा गिर जाए पर तालियों की गूंज कभी खत्म ना हो.
क्या बात है, क्या बात है.
जब भी आपको शक हो, आप इस चीज को याद रखें. क्या जो आप करने जा रहे हैं, क्या वो आपके किरदार के साथ है? क्या वो बेहतरीन से बेहतरीन किरदार था आपका? आपने अगर उस चीज को जिया है, तो आपने खुद को पूरी तरह से जिया है. बस यही है आपका चरित्र.
Very powerful.
क्या
Thank
बात
you,
है.
Hina.
Let me add.
Any words from Harish
Yes,
ji? He's there.
yes.
I would love to hear Harish.
हरीश जी से भी वर्ड्स लेते हैं, लेकिन let me continue where Hina left off. Hina, हम सबके अच्छे दिन आने वाले हैं.
I believe in that too, Deepak, wholeheartedly.
Harish ji.
Very interesting and very fascinated that you could share so much in so little time.
Yes.
Thank you.
I wish I could have joined at the start, but I was going for my bath. Anyway, no excuses. So, Hina, I missed meeting you on the 21st February. I would not remember. But anyway, I would like to connect and would like to share a couple of thoughts which could add more value.
I would love that.
What you see is who you are, and who you are is what you mean. And when you mean what you say, you become the person you were born to become.
Wow. Indeed.
So it's important for people to realize you take a lot of time to build a character.
Yes.
And your character can change in 1 minute.
Right.
It's the time that changes everything. And it's important for you and for people around you to realize not to think about who you were, but who you are today. I know I'm going through a transformation. I know I am going through a lot of change. The habits are a part of your shift. And when you decide to shift, it requires a lot of courage and discipline. And when we follow that discipline, the person you were born to be is going to shape up and come. So wish you the very best, Hina.
Thank
I look
you.
forward to speaking to you sometime.
Indeed.
When I have the energy and you have the time.
I loved it. When you have the energy and I have the time. I'm sure that time will be coming soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, Amit is there. Before he says Gana Gana hai, let me sing the. Amit, तेरे बोलने के पहले ही मैं गाना गा लेता हूँ. And we lost Manoj
Thank you
Kumar.
very much.
Yeah, we lost Manoj Kumar yesterday, and there is one song of Manoj Kumar which we can't forget, and it rhymes so well with what we are discussing about character. है प्रीत जहां की रीत सदा, है प्रीत जहां की रीत सदा, मैं गीत वहां के गाता हूँ। भारत का रहने वाला हूँ, भारत
भारत
की
की
बात
बात
सुनाता
सुनाता
हूँ।
हूँ।
See you every day, see you next week on Sunday, 12:30 India time for the 243rd non-stop Sunday Bloom Talk Show. God bless us all. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. We are blessed.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Namaste.
Namaste. All the
Namaste.
best.
Thank you.